Hey, everybody. Welcome and thank you for joining us. And today we are talking about breath. And so, you have this resource, and I mention it in the workbook. So, I really feel it's necessary that you have a better idea of what breath work is. And the best person that I thought of that I could talk to is Rob Laird from the Tracy Clark team. And he does the body regeneration, breath, and body work, right? So, Rob, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to the group?
Hi, everybody. I'm Rob, and like Magdalena said, I'm part of Tracy Clark's team, and my specialty is breath and body work.
Awesome. And so, tell me a little bit before we get into the how of it and what it does and how it works. Um, Rob, can you tell me why and for what purpose did you create this breath work?
Well, I really had no choice. I had no choice, and I'll tell you the very short and condensed version of what happened. I was a professional soldier for most of my life, and when I was discharged, medically discharged, I had knee and spinal injuries and post-traumatic stress, anxiety, massive panic attacks, and things like that. And I went back to school for music, and I was a high note player, and I was a trumpet player. I was a high note trumpet player. And this guy, Maynard Ferguson, used to recommend, who was a Raja yoga master. I didn't know it at the time. He used to recommend this book to all of his guys if you want to know how to play high. And it was this book called The Science of Breath by Yogi Ramacharaka. So I opened this book, and it was all about, I started connecting with God and to the universe and all that. I'm like, what is this? And, I skipped all that. What's this garbage? And went right to the chapter on breathing. So I started doing these yogi breathing exercises combined with some other muscular things I was doing. And one night I was lying in bed next to my wife, and this energy filled my body, like real, and not like, hey, I'm really happy now, peppy. Energy, waves of energy filled my body, and all my hair was standing up on end on my arms and legs. And then all of a sudden I connected. I connected to God, universe, divine, man, whatever you want to call it, that intelligent energy that runs through everything. And I could see things, man. I could see energy. I could see how there was this energy field around the planet. We were all connected to it, how we were connected to each other, and all this kind of stuff. And then it went away, a couple hours of that, and then it went away. And I turned to my wife and said, because I'm struggling with post-traumatic stress, I said, all right, we got to go see the psychiatrist tomorrow. Like, it's time to lock me up. Something
Yeah.
my brain has snapped. But then I woke up the next morning and I bounced out of bed. I had absolutely no pain in my body,
And
which
that
I
would
had
have been unusual for you, I think.
at 14 years. For 14 years, I had to crawl out of bed and stretch, walk around the house stretching. My body was healed instantly, and my post-traumatic stress went away, anxiety went away, panic attacks, everything.
Yeah.
It like instantly.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, hang on a sec. Let's cool out. And obviously I don't gotta go see the psychiatrist, because if this physical effects are real, that means the stuff I saw was real.
Right.
So then I
Wow.
start
What amazing awareness for you, because I think a lot of us would be just like, okay,
oh,
get
believe
out of
it.
here.
I was close, man. I was close. Like, I gotta go see the doc, right? Get some medicine and numb me out or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, because it's like it's almost like a whole another level of awakening that you had in that moment that was really like not a minor step, it was a huge jump in awareness.
Mass Most people wake up bit by bit.
Yeah,
Things start occurring in their lives and they start questioning stuff. Mine was instant, because
wow,
up until that time I was like, just a normal soldier running around in pain and all that kind of stuff. And then I went back to school and this happened.
yeah,
So I started searching for real people that could teach me what it was that I'd experienced and how to get back to that,
yeah,
which was
amazing.
the main goal, right? How do I get back? Because for weeks afterwards, I had this incredible peace in my body, and I was just relaxed, and I was walking around the house and I could balance on one foot, where my wife calls me bull in China shop, and all of a sudden I got this incredible balance
Right.
and lightness in my body. So
Amazing.
I started searching for teachers, and there's a lot of whack jobs out there, man. So, sifting through them all, trying to find people to show me, to start learning from. So my big thing was the martial arts. I started learning from people who had studied in Japan and China and things like that. I was learning martial arts from them. And then I met Tracy Clark, and she could explain the energy side of things to me. So it was kind of a combination of the body work and the energy work. And throughout this time, the amazing thing that was happening, this is why I say I really had no choice, is my breathing method was developing naturally. And each day as I was doing the breathing, I was getting downloads, like downloads of information, stuff that I would have no knowledge of, like physics and things like that. Like, what the hell do I know about physics, man? I was an army guy, right? I don't care about math and physics and all that.
Yeah, in fact, the next question that I was curious about is how you've mentioned a lot of these examples right now about how is it that the breath affects your body. And again, having had the experience myself with you and having worked through the breathing techniques and things, and just you can learn about this now. Right now, there's a little bit more access to the information that about breath. What are some of the things that you feel are consistent across the board for the effect of the body regeneration breathing method?
Oh, physical pain disappears. Um, the whole system calms right down, much more awareness. And the biggest thing for a lot of people is quieting of the mind. Because most people operate on what the Chinese like to call the monkey mind, where it's blah, 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 blah.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
as I sit here with you right now, like there is absolutely nothing going through my mind except for what we're talking about. But most people in this situation, I'd be trying to kind of pay attention to you, but in my brain, I'd be saying, "Oh, I have to go do this for dinner, and then I got to do this, and I got to go to the store, and then I got blah 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 blah." Right?
yeah, yeah.
And that's how most people live.
And it's exhausting. And this
Oh,
is where I feel that your method is so profound in the energizing aspect of it, not just in what it does mentally, and it's the effects on the physical body because of the mental clarity that you get. Like I think you told me once that you'll have more connection, like a deeper connection to God, essentially, or whatever you want to call it, um, with this breath. And not that I didn't believe you, because I totally did, but I have my own skepticism, as most people do. And it's really interesting because at the time that we did our session, I actually had a lot of symptoms post birth, and what I experienced was I found really different than a lot of people would, because what I did was I felt my body much more in a more aware, more in tune way. But also, what I found was that the natural kind of just the symptoms of the breathing, or the result of the breathing, was like I was doing things differently for myself.
yeah.
So I went to take, like, I actually made the time to go and get a massage. I made the time to take care of myself. I made the time to have time, like, meditate or whatever. And it came more naturally rather than what had been before, which would have been these excuses of like, oh, I have to take care of the baby, I have to do this, I have to do that. Now I was able to create this new behavior effortlessly. It wasn't like, oh, I have to think about it, figure this out. It was just like, you know what, I'm going to get a massage tomorrow. Honey, you're taking care of the baby.
Yeah.
That wasn't the case beforehand. Like, so I feel like there's more of a, not just this physical, spiritual connection, but this very visceral, very real response that it's not airy fairy in any way.
No, not
And
at
like,
all.
especially because of the physical part, which I'd love for you to touch on specifically the fascial tissue, because I think that most people don't understand what the fascial tissue is, or they simply don't know about it. So if you could explain that just for a moment, would you be willing?
Sure, but the best, instead of going to a long explanation, I found this wonderful video on YouTube people can check out, and it's called Dana Sterling Fascia.
Data
And
Sterling?
Dana,
Dana.
D-A-N-A,
Okay,
Dana
yeah.
Sterling Fascia.
I
And
will check that out and put it in a link so that people have it. Yeah.
and it's amazing, but it kind of talks about it in a very 2D way. That's the best way I can describe it.
Yeah.
Fascial chains and this and that. But it explains what the fascia is and what it does. What it doesn't explain is that the fascia actually holds on to all of our emotional, physical, mental traumas. It hangs on to it in the body. And every time, especially when we're under stress and things like that, this is how I'd love to show people, is it's like my old slinky here. And what's happening when we're under stress and all those kinds of things, it starts to contract. Your body starts to contract. Your spine starts to contract. It's you're compressed.
Yeah.
And when it's compressed like that, that natural flow of energy in the body can't work. It's almost like it's shut off. And because of this breathing, what this breathing does is actually moves the fascial system and it reorganizes it. And it starts to lengthen your spine. And the amazing, I have this quote, I don't know the full quote, but it's from Yogananda. And he says, God is in this brain and in the spine, right? And if you think about your spine like a guitar string, if it's loose, you start plucking it, it goes ball, 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 ball. But then you tighten it up and lengthen it, then it goes bing, 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 bing. It's a higher vibration. And this is doing the same thing to your body. And what it does, I always like to show this picture. It is like the breathing that I teach, what it does is it's like, imagine this is your spine, and this is the fascia going around your spine. And if you compress that, just like two boa constrictors, if they start tightening up all the way to the top, what happens is you're connecting your power zone, which is in your sacrum area, to your pineal gland, which is the gland that connects you or gives you awareness and things like that. And once that connection starts, it's almost like a battery where the connection's bad. But as soon as you make that connection, you get full power. Right? And a lot of people who are out there and they're doing like energy work or things like that, what they don't realize is that they're really, even with the gifts that they have, they're only operating at about 10% of what they're capable of as a human.
Yeah. And that's why it's so, what the body regeneration method I feel is so different is that you're not connecting to a method that is linked to a person. It is straight up to the highest vibration, highest connection. And I feel like your breath integrates that quite well. And I actually don't feel like you need to be a highly spiritual person to use the breath. You don't have to have major traumas or anything like that for you to benefit. I think that there's, you've worked probably with quite a bit of people who have benefited from this, that are all from all walks of life. Is there anything that you feel is the most significant benefit to the breath for all people when they use it?
Your daily life becomes easier because of the things I was talking about earlier. The brain stops, the brain stops running, and because of that, you have a more awareness of what's going on around you. Like yourself, all of a sudden you're like, well, I feel like a massage. I'm going to go get a massage. But normally your brain will jump in and tell you all the 15 reasons why you shouldn't. Right?
Very much so.
And your spine you got to think of it like your antenna. It's your antenna to God, the universe, whatever the hell you want to call it. I don't care. So what you're doing when you start lengthening your spine and start to feel that release in the body is you're connecting to yourself. Not just to everything around you, you're connecting to yourself.
Yeah, because when you look at the more of the mental kind of aspect of the brain and the science behind, things like neuro linguistic programming, between you and God, there's what we call the higher self, the higher consciousness of self, the best version of yourself, and the etherical kind of aspect. And what I think of is, even if you wouldn't believe in God or any of the higher power, you don't have to. But if do you believe in yourself, and if you are connecting to the more profound, more um, perfect, almost like this essence of who you truly are, that can
Well,
serve you in a beautiful way.
well, here's the thing, okay? Like, you don't have to believe in God. What you have to realize is that you are God. Now,
Yes.
okay, now that'll trigger a lot of people. Like, oh no, because of all the religious programming of, you have to go to the church and all this kind of stuff. But if you think about it in a bigger perspective, fractals, or, well, I won't get into fractals, that's too much. But say, the energy that runs through everything, that is God, that is the universe. And you are a piece of that. You are a part of that. It's like that old saying, you take an ocean and you take a cup of water out of the ocean. That's you.
Yes.
That's God, the universe,
Yes. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I have
You're
had some really interesting conversations about that, because I always say I am God, and people are like, "Oh." I'm like, I am, and so are you. And that's
and
how we create our universe, is through this flow of God energy within us, right? So,
and I can teach people right now very quickly how they can feel that energy. Is if you just take your hand, I don't know if you're busy with the baby there, but if you
yes.
take your hand and just go like this with it. Okay, now close your eyes. Now stop moving your hand. Do you feel that buzz?
Yes.
Okay, now close your eyes and follow the buzz and feel it go up your arm. And feel
Yeah.
it move up into your shoulder and start to spread through your chest.
That.
That's the energy. That is the energy that runs through all things. And what I just got you to do there very quickly is the fascia. I just got you to loosen it.
Yeah.
And as soon as you loosen it, you can feel that energy.
I love that.
And then if you do this breathing and you do it consistently, you start to be able to feel that energy through your body. And that's a wonderful feeling, isn't it?
Yeah,
You
it's
know,
uplifting, even just having the sensation, because um again, like yourself, I've had a lot of injuries and a lot of pain in my life physically, not just emotionally but physically, and of course they're interconnected. And it's really interesting, because when you have that sensation, I feel like it's filled with joy and almost like a pleasure to it. And I don't feel like we don't feel that very often. We are so into the pain and all the other stuff, and yet this pleasure of this buzz. Excuse little Freddie here.
well, no, Freddie, think about this. Right now, that's all that Freddie is feeling. We are born like that. And then through our life, we are taught how to behave, how to withhold emotions, what's important. Money's important, job is important, career, this, that, all this other bullshit, right? And then what starts happening is we start to condense. We start to go like this. And when you said it earlier, when you said, how can this benefit people who haven't had major traumas or anything like that? It doesn't matter. Just the stress that you had back when you were in grade 3 because you had a test coming up and you started getting all tight and tension, that tension stays in the body. And it does this with your system, right? And once you can get rid of all that stress and tension that we've been holding on to for years, then the whole system starts to open up and you feel that lightness and you feel that flow of energy and the stress is gone. And the big thing is there's an energy flow. So when I'm in a state like this, used to happen in my panic attacks, something would trigger it and set it off, and all of a sudden I'd start thinking. Then my power zone, which feeds the body, the energy down in the sacrum, sends energy up into the brain because it's in use. And then it goes back. And what happens is it goes into this vicious circle. We've all been there where our thoughts snowball. When you do this breathing, it's cutting off that energy flow and getting you back to where Freddie is.
The key thing I feel that is also a major benefit is that because there is flow now, the energy is actually flowing. So when you're having the experience of stress in your daily life, it actually flows through you much easier than when you're not doing the work. Sorry guys, sorry.
That's okay. Well, and that's also, if you think of it, again, we'll go back to this slinky. A lot of people, when they go to work in the morning, they get in their car, they drive to work, they get stressed out all day. And then when they get back into their car, they have to adjust their mirror and bring their mirror down.
Yeah, I used to have that.
Yeah, and then they have to do it again in the morning, put it back up because they've rested overnight and their body's expanded again.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? So what happens right now is if I teach you the breathing and your body is like this, say it's naturally like this, and then I teach you the breathing and then it goes like this. That way, when you do get stressed, it's only going to here instead of going all the way here, right? And then all you do is do a few more of the breaths. So as soon as that stress comes up, and it brings you back up to here. Right? So
you're the magic of it for sure.
Yeah, and you're able to cope with things so much easier.
Yeah.
Because also you can see the truth in situations. Because your mind is not, because of previous patterning and things like that you've gone through, normally your mind, you will assign something to what somebody says, for example. Now, instead of your mind assigning something, your mind is so quiet that you're here standing in front of somebody and you can see the truth in what it is they're saying.
Yeah.
Because you're not applying filters.
Yeah.
And there's my wife likes, the one she loves to use is, for those of you that are in Ontario, there was this drink driving commercial where they put the one, you know what I mean? That one glass, and then another glass, and another glass, and the vision keeps getting blurry.
Yeah.
Well, that's how we live our lives, through those filters. I add this filter, and that filter, and this, and that. Then all of a sudden our lives are being distorted.
Yes.
And if you can remove all those filters, then you can actually see clearly, right?
For sure, for sure. It's so incredible how something so simple can have, well, the technique I think is not as complicated as we make it sometimes. There's depth to it, but I don't think, like, I think once you get into the rhythm of it and you really feel and you sense your body, it can actually feel quite simple, specifically in the first level. I mean, there's so many levels, and this is where the work is really great that you can do with Rob. You can enter into the space and you can do the more basic breathing technique, and then once you're able to have a greater sensory of what your body needs and how to feel it and everything that comes with that basic breath, like there's multiple levels that you could go, even with the entry level breath, like you can go deeper and deeper. And although there are other techniques that you can build on, again, it's up to you how deep you go with it too, and how committed you are, you know, like for a long time I did it every single day, and I felt like that was the most impact, having it done every single day. And I still return to it when I require it. I have to say I don't have the discipline currently to do it every day. But it's when I feel like my body's tense, it's just something in my toolbox that I can pull out. And you know, sometimes like the energy work is really, really good, but sometimes you need something that's very physical. And I feel that this breath work can do that for pretty much anyone. So I appreciate you sharing that with us, because it's such a, I think that everybody really needs to know how to breathe properly and sense their body, and how to shift literally the chemicals in their body, and they can do that with breath, which is amazing. It's amazing. You can remove freaking issues and injuries that you've had for decades with breath. No painful therapy or surgery, breath. And
I
that's,
had
I
a
think that's a miracle.
I had a woman like a week ago, and she had pain in her jaw, her shoulder, her hip, and her knee,
Wow.
and she'd been walking around like that for years. And by the time the session was done, learning to breathe, it was gone, completely gone.
One session, and not that everybody's going to experience that in one single session, but there are that's not the first time I'm hearing something like that from you, Rob.
Oh yeah, and but like, there was one. I did a couple last week, and it was the one person was like, "Oh my God, now I have pain in my knee." All of a sudden, to do the breathing. So the first thing I said to her was, "Well, did you used to have pain in your hip?" And she said, "Oh my God, yes, it was my hip. I've had big trouble with my hip for years." I said, "Well, your injury or where you're holding on to whatever it is was actually your knee, but your body is adjusting. You know what I mean? So you're actually the pain is originated in your knee, but you're adjusting
Yeah.
to cope every day, and that's why your hip is hurting."
Which is amazing because it really, again, that's that expanded awareness, and now you can actually address the source of the issue rather than where you're experiencing the problem. So again, I think that's an incredible thing that again is very self-directed because you choose how aware you want to be with the breath and the physical work, right? So thank you very much for sharing that with us, Rob. And when someone wants to get a hold of you to work with you and experience this breath, how can they do that? Is there any workshops that you're doing? Is it online? How can they do that?
Currently, you could book a session at tracylclark.com, and it's under they changed it. It's now under services. Work with tracylclark.com under services, and currently I do one-on-ones and I do them via Zoom. It
Perfect.
doesn't have to be an in-person thing, and normally I teach people, and the first bit, and it lasts a month, 6 weeks. That's enough for a month, 6 weeks, or they can carry on doing that forever.
Yeah.
And if you would like to go into the more advanced stuff, that's available too.
Yeah, yeah, because I know that it goes deep. Like you have multiple levels, which is amazing because you can really have this massive progression of how you sense your body and how you heal it, and even still the like I said, the first level is so profound. Even a single session could be massively transformational for you, which is fantastic.
And that's what a lot of people do. They only take the first one. But like, just as an example, I have two young gentlemen that they've worked their way up the different levels. Kind of, I don't like to call it levels, but I just added more exercise, breathing
Yeah,
exercise in, right?
yeah,
And what it is once they got rid of all the tension and stress in their body and they could start feeling their body, then their awareness expands. And now these two guys, and they're in their early 20s, which is amazing to me. They can actually feel the people around them. They know what the people around them are going through. They can even know what they're thinking sometimes.
mhm.
And then they're starting to work with other people doing the same thing. So
Amazing.
it's wonderful. It's
Yeah, what
all
a
up to you how
gift.
far you want to go, right?
Yeah, I love that, and I just love that it's such a pure source of not just energy but knowledge, and it's just such a major connection that you channeled that is so helpful to a lot of people. So thank you very much for sharing this with us, Rob. I really appreciate you taking the time out to share what it is that you know, and this technique we didn't go into it the how of it too much here. Just I believe that the foundation of the knowledge is necessary for you to understand how to perform the technique, just so that way you can connect. But again, Rob is excellent at explaining it and how it works and guiding you through the process step by step so that you're feeling everything. And it really is incredible um, how you awaken the sensory system with it and everything else. So I definitely recommend check it out. Contact Rob at tracyclark.com, tracylclark.com under services, and check out body regeneration, breath, and body work. Thank you very much.